I've had a lot of amazing questions coming in from families, and I want to take the opportunity to continue to answer them. So this question is from Diane, and Diane asked, what roles should I play and what roles should be done by other people or supporters? So as a parent who has a loved one with a disability, there's so many roles that you play. So that's the question that came in from Diane. And I agree with her, right? You know, if you think about the roles that you're playing, it might be the personal care supporter, the scheduler, the driver, the social coordinator, the cook, the meal planner, the support manager, the accountant, the employment coach, just to name a few of them. That is a lot of roles. And what Diane's getting at here is she's saying, hey, I can't do all of these roles forever. So how do I start transitioning those roles to other people? What does that look like? So this is a great question. So thank you for that, Diane. I think a lot of families are struggling with this or trying to figure this out. So the place you start is to work on transferring as many of these roles to your loved one with a disability as possible. Okay, and you might be like, whoa, Eric, that's too much. I hear you. I want you to start with one role, and it might not be the entire role, but at least a part of a role, right? And to do this, it involves taking very small steps or steps that are at your loved one's pace and coaching your loved one to grow into that role. And it might, again, just be taking on part of the role, not the entire role. So I encourage you to start with a role that your loved one is actually interested in, rather than saying, you're going to do this. Asking them what they might be interested in learning and doing, right? And slowly, step by step, to work on this over time. And you can do this even if it's not you that owns the role. Maybe it's a paid supporter or another family member. You can work on transferring that role to your loved one, or at least a part of it. And when I think about paid supporters should be actively working themselves out of a job by helping your loved one to build capability, right? Not just doing things for your loved one, but doing things with your loved one. So let's think through an example here. So an example could be your loved one is needing support to do their self-care, okay? So and maybe you're that person supporting them to do their self-care. So if there's an element of your loved one's self-care where you have a conversation with them and they're interested in doing more of that themselves or learning how to do that, then work with your loved one to transfer that over to them, right? And then over time, you can kind of take the next thing that they're interested in, the next thing that they're interested in, and that's how you build momentum to help continue to build your loved one's capacity and capability. Now, it might not be that all roles are transferred to your loved one, right? And your loved one might not be growing at a pace fast enough where they can take on those roles. There might be some, things that get in the way of that. So if we're thinking about what roles should be done by supporters, and especially if your loved one's going to need support with personal care or hygiene over time, over the long term, this is a role that you could consider transferring over to paid supporters, right? It's not something often that in at least in Western culture that other people that are in freely given relationships would be taking on, often as paid supporters taking on that role. So you can start to transfer maybe that over, but still within helping your loved one to build their own capability. Another role you could potentially transfer over is support with employment, right? That's kind of awkward for a family to be supporting their loved one with employment. So having a good supported employment coach is key. The role of the driver, this role can be taken over by learning public transit or maybe a car service, where there's other family members that can maybe help out in this area. That doesn't have to be all on you, right? That's kind of a key here, is that you do not have to do it all. I think so often as, that key supporter, we form this role and identity of being everything to our loved one. And then we realize once our loved one grows older, this is a problem and we need to start delegating these roles, right? So the key here is that you do not have to do it all. And you need to continuously support your loved one to keep learning, to keep developing. Some of these roles that you own also can be supported by other family members, or maybe even a well-intentioned support circle. Things like helping with social coordination or connection, maybe even help with something like finances, trying on new things or experiences, having adventures, travel. All of those great things can be roles that people that are in natural relationships can provide. So I wanted to give you these ideas to start to think about how you could delegate a role or start delegating roles to other people, to your loved one. So I'd love it if you scroll down and in the comments you shared one role that you are going to work on delegating or transitioning to someone else, whether it's partly to your loved one, partly to another person. Would love to hear about it in the comments below. And if you want more support to help your loved one live into that awesome ordinary life, I recommend you scroll down and download the Life Planning 101 guide. There's lots of helpful strategies and tips in there to help you continue to move forward with your loved one and help them create that awesome ordinary life. So thank you so much for watching. My name's Eric Gall. Together, let's keep taking small steps forward.